This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. Good morning, I'm John Trout. It's Thursday, July 17th, 2025. Here's what's coming up on America in the Morning.
President Trump is slamming his own supporters amid their anger over how his administration's handled the Jeffrey Epstein case. Sagar Meghani, Washington.
President Trump ramping up the pressure on the Federal Reserve Chair.
Terrible Fed chair. I was surprised he was appointed.
I'm Clayton Neville.
Then Julie Walker reports a lawsuit claims the current mayor of New York ran his police force like a criminal enterprise. Plus, a powerful earthquake off the Alaska coast sparked tsunami fears. We'll have those stories.
On Wall Street yesterday, stocks were wild on whether the president would fire the Fed chair. I'm Jessica Ettinger.
A tropical weather system near the Florida Panhandle is showing a moderate chance of becoming a tropical depression. I'm Haya Panjwani.
All ahead on America in the Morning. President Trump is lashing out at both Democrats and his own supporters over criticism of the Jeffrey Epstein probe. As Washington correspondent Sagar Meghani reports, high-ranking members of the GOP, including House Speaker Mike Johnson, want those files released, which comes after Attorney General Pam Bondi, speaking on Fox News, said she had on her desk and had reviewed it.
The DOJ may be releasing the list of Jeffrey Epstein's clients? Will that really happen?
It's sitting on my desk right now to review. That's been a directive by President Trump. I'm reviewing that. I'm reviewing JFK files, MLK files. That's all in the process of being reviewed because that was done at the directive of the president from all of these agencies.
So have you seen anything that you said, oh my gosh?
Not yet.
President Trump is slamming his own supporters amid their anger over how his administration's handled the Jeffrey Epstein sex trafficking case.
But I don't understand why the Jeffrey Epstein case would be of interest to anybody. It's pretty boring stuff. It's sordid, but it's boring. And I don't understand why it keeps going. I think, well, really only pretty bad people, including fake news, want to keep something like that going.
The Justice Department acknowledged last week Epstein did not maintain a client list, and the FBI says it will not release more files about the case. Attorney General Pam Bondi had raised hopes among some of the president's most loyal backers, who are now lashing out. So is he.
It's all been a big hoax. It's perpetrated by the Democrats, and some stupid Republicans and foolish Republicans fall into the net. And so they try and do the Democrats' work.
The president in the Oval Office hours after using an expletive on social media while referring to past supporters who bought the hoax, hook, line, and sinker.
He's dead. He's gone. And all it is the Republicans, certain Republicans got duped by the Democrats, and they're following a Democrat playbook.
He's also defending Bondi.
She says, I gave you all the credible information, and if she finds any more credible information, she'll give that too. What more can she do than that?
Sagar Meghani, Washington.
A move to oust the sitting Federal Reserve Chair is legally untested, and there's serious concern as to how Wall Street would react. President Trump is reportedly exploring the idea. More from correspondent Clayton Neville.
President Trump reportedly asked a group of Republican lawmakers this week if they would support him firing Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell. The reported response from some in the room was positive. House Speaker Mike Johnson was asked by reporters if the president can fire Powell.
Can the president fire Jerome Powell? I'm really not sure.
The beef surrounds the president's desire for Powell to lower interest rates. Powell claims the Fed would have already cut rates if it weren't for inflation concerns about the president's tariff policies. Trump was asked about Powell in the Oval Office.
He's a terrible Fed chair. I was surprised he was appointed. I was surprised, frankly, that Biden put him in and extended him. But they did. So, no, we're not planning on doing anything. We're very concerned.
The president's been a long critic of Powell's, but Trump did appoint him during his first term. It's the extension of his time in D.C. by President Biden that Trump is focused on.
And all you have to do is so simple. I'm explaining to this guy, and Biden extended him. That wasn't good. I'm explaining to him, you can do so much for our country. You could save $1 trillion just with a stroke of a pen. Just a little, the utterance of a sentence that we're going to be cutting, It's a shame. It's a shame. We're one of the highest. We should be the lowest. We're the United States of America. We'd have money coming in like at levels that they have never seen.
According to the federal law, the Fed chair can only be fired for cause. The president's next move isn't clear.
I don't rule out anything, but I think it's highly unlikely unless he has to leave for fraud. It's possible there's fraud involved with the $2.7 billion renovation. This is a renovation. How do you spend $2.7 billion? And he didn't have proper clearance, et cetera, et cetera. So that's going on. So, there could be something to that.
I'm Clayton Neville.
Mudslinging in New York politics, earthquake in Alaska. Those stories when America in the Morning continues after these messages. Welcome back. Here with America in the Morning. We're looking at a lot of rain for areas of the Gulf Coast. Here's AccuWeather.com meteorologist LaTroy Thornton.
A tropical rainstorm emerging over the Gulf will continue on its westward journey today, and AccuWeather hurricane experts are projecting that it will come onshore in southeastern Louisiana this afternoon to the south and east of New Orleans, bringing wind gusts of 42, perhaps 60 miles per hour from near coastal far southeastern Louisiana into the immediate coast of Mississippi. The storm may bring storm surge of up to 1 to 3 feet over a very similar area, as the storm takes a sharp curve to the north over southern Louisiana on Friday before reaching southern Arkansas early Saturday morning. Rainfall of at least 1 to 2 inches is expected to spread into areas such as central Arkansas and far eastern Texas, with the highest totals of 4 to 8 inches, likely limited to southern portions of both Louisiana and Mississippi. Today brings at least the chance of a thunderstorm to most parts of the nation to the north and east of that zone, as a cold front will be the general focus for storms from Kansas into the interior northeast today. Some of those storms may turn severe with damaging winds and downpours from east central Missouri to southwestern Pennsylvania and all but extreme southwestern Virginia and Kentucky. The most intense severe storms are likely in the northeast, though, where gusty storms may extend from eastern Pennsylvania through all but southeastern New England and all but eastern Maine. There may even be some tornadoes, especially in a zone from northwest of Albany to northwestern Vermont. Monsoon storms will make for some drenching downpours over parts of the southwest this afternoon, with a spotty storm over much of the mid-Atlantic as well. It stays hot over parts of the interior northwest, with a dry Thursday expected. In Kansas City, a morning thunderstorm gives way to clouds and a high of 79. For Dallas, it's looking sunny and quite warm, the high 99. That's the nation's weather. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist LaTroy Thornton.
Remember to follow us wherever you get your podcasts. Just search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. The race for New York City mayor gets more soiled by the day as a former NYPD commissioner has sued New York's mayor, alleging he ran the police department as a, quote, criminal enterprise. Details from correspondent Julie Walker.
Tom Donlan, the former interim police commissioner of New York City, is suing Mayor Eric Adams and some NYPD brass, alleging they showered loyalists with unearned promotions, buried allegations of misconduct, and gratuitously punished whistleblowers. Donlan accuses Adams and his inner circle of operating the NYPD as a criminal enterprise. His suit also accuses NYPD brass of leaking to the press his wife's arrest for driving without insurance. Last week, 4 other former high-ranking NYPD officials filed separate lawsuits against Adams and his top deputies, alleging a culture of rampant corruption and bribes that preceded Donlan's appointment. Julie Walker, New York.
After the earth shook violently, people along Alaska's coast began seeking higher ground after a strong magnitude 7.3 earthquake rattled the region and sent fears of a tsunami down the west coast over to Hawaii. The latest from correspondent Lisa Dwyer.
Communities in an area along a 700-mile stretch of Alaska's southern coast ordered residents to higher ground after a powerful earthquake, but officials quickly downgraded their tsunami warning for the region. The earthquake, with a preliminary magnitude of 7.3, struck at 12:37 p.m. local time south of Sand Point, a community of about 600 people on Pop-Pop Island in the Aleutian Island chain. The first waves were projected to land there, but the state's Emergency Management Division says an an hour following the quake that it had not received any reports of damage. The quake was felt as far away as Anchorage, almost 600 miles to the northeast. I'm Lisa Dwyer.
Trump's dislike for Fed chair rattles markets. That's in business when America in the Morning continues after these messages. Welcome back. You're with America in the Morning. Well, there was a wild ride on Wall Street yesterday, and hang on to your hat. It looks like that could continue into today. With a market recap, here's CNBC's Jessica Ettinger.
Wall Street opens this morning after a headline-driven whipsaw day yesterday on Wall Street. President Trump telling Republican lawmakers he's getting ready to fire the Fed Chair Jay Powell before denying that. The Dow ended up 200 points yesterday. The Nasdaq opens this morning at a fresh record high. President Trump hinting that a case may be being built to try to fire Fed Chair Jay Powell over a building renovation that's been going on for years and that was never complained about.
Some market whipsawing after the president sought to make it clear he's not currently planning to fire the Fed chair.
Completely ruling out the idea of firing Jerome Powell.
I don't rule out anything, but I think it's highly unlikely unless he has to leave for fraud. I mean, it's possible there's fraud involved with the $2.7 billion renovation.
He's raising the possibility there of fraud being a probable cause for the firing.
CNBC's Megan Casella. Here's CNBC's Sarah Eisen with Carl Quintanilla.
I mean, the renovation, the claim is, and we heard this from the OMB director, we've heard this from Bill Pulte, the housing administrator, and the Trump administration, that they spent $2.5 billion renovating the Fed building, which is outrageous. First of all, you know, this is a building that hadn't been renovated since the 1930s. We can argue about it. I don't know how much marble is in there.
You pointed out it's not taxpayer dollars.
No, I mean, the Fed has its own income that it makes from fees and banks. It's unclear whether that would classify as cause for firing the Fed chair.
Investors were rattled by the idea that the president would ever try to fire the independent chairman of the Fed.
That has been sacred ground, and you need the checks and balances in government, and that's one of the critical ones. So somebody who just wants to cut rates to support their tax bill, and number two, to help all their friends around the country, right, similar to what is being done with private equity, is just a mistake. Bottom line is, I don't think it would be a good thing for the market. The pledge any of these people can have to make are to cut rates regardless of what the market's telling you. But to me, it's clear that he's going to try to do something.
Short Hills Capital's Steve Weiss on CNBC. Inflation at the wholesale level came in unchanged for last month after consumer inflation popped higher in June. Delta Airlines lowered its full-year forecast. Results came after the closing bell last night. Travel demand is slowing, and Americans are watching their wallet. On today's watch list, we get a load of earnings from Travelers, Abbott Labs, Novartis, PepsiCo, Taiwan Semi, and Netflix. We get retail sales numbers for June. Disneyland, California is 70 years old today, and it's round one of the Open Championship at Royal Portrush in Northern Ireland.
Very good. CNBC's Jessica Ettinger. The American teenager, pessimistic about the future. When America in the Morning continues after these messages. From Florida's Gulf Coast to the Louisiana-Texas border, southern states are bracing for bad weather. Correspondent Pam Bondi reports that what is now a tropical disturbance could dump as much as 10 inches of rain in New Orleans and flood other parts of the Deep South.
A tropical weather system near the Florida Panhandle is showing a moderate chance of becoming a tropical depression. The National Hurricane Center says that the system could impact southeastern Louisiana, Alabama, and Mississippi. New Orleans residents like Alex Trapps are preparing.
This is going to be my first big storm since being here, so I really don't know, but I listen to everybody else, and so I'm just getting prepared the best way I know how.
Heavy rain is expected, with New Orleans bracing up to 10 inches in some areas through Saturday. Flooding is still a major concern, regardless of how the storm develops. Dry Aide's YMCA CEO Erica Mann.
While it's not going to be a big wind maker, everything that the Weather Center is saying is that it's going to bring a lot of water. And so when people are driving, they push the water and it goes under the doors of people. So these sandbags will help keep the water from going into people's homes.
This system follows recent deadly floods in New York and New Jersey. I'm Haya Panjwani.
A new poll finds teenagers optimistic about college, but pessimistic as they enter the adult world. Jennifer King reports on what those under the age to vote are thinking about the future.
A majority of U.S. teens say graduating from college is very important for getting a job and learning life skills. About half see college as key for becoming a more informed member of society or forming their personal identity. That's according to a new poll from the Associated Press Nork Center for Public Affairs Research in a survey of U.S. teens ages 13 to 17. Girls were more likely than boys to prioritize college graduation, 70% compared to 54%. That lines up with changing demographics in the U.S., where more young women than men have completed a bachelor's degree. Just over half of teenagers surveyed say it's more challenging to raise a family, and 7 out of 10 say owning a home has become harder compared to their parents' generation. I'm Jennifer King.
America in the Morning for Thursday, July 17th, 2025 is produced by Jeff McKay. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One. This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. I'm John Trout. Coming up this half hour.
So what's in the Senate rescission bill?
We have no earthly idea what specific cuts will occur.
I'm Richard Johnson.
One of then First Lady Jill Biden's former top aides has refused to answer questions from House Republicans. Sagar Meghani, Washington.
The Trump administration hinting on what moves could be made next at American airports. I'm Clayton Neville.
International cyber hacker takedown in today's tech news. I'm tech correspondent Chuck Palm.
A federal lawsuit is taking aim at ICE over arrests happening at immigration courts. I'm Haya Panjwani.
The new Superman film has led to a super interest in pet adoption. I'm Kevin Carr.
Back after these messages. America in the Morning continues. There are a few areas of the country susceptible to severe weather today. Here's AccuWeather.com meteorologist LaTroy Thornton.
For today, the risk for powerful thunderstorms that may produce tornadoes will shift to the northeast and New England in particular, especially toward the Canadian border with both Vermont and northern New York. However, the highest concentration of storms that may bring strong winds and downpours is expected to stretch from the I-90 corridor between Syracuse and Albany north and east to areas just west of Interstate 91 through Vermont. Thunderstorms will be more spotty in other parts of the Northeast, but any storms that do form in the afternoon and evening may still be gusty from eastern Pennsylvania to northwestern parts of New Jersey and Connecticut and right through the western half of Maine. Elsewhere, thunderstorms may also be able to turn severe later today without so much of a tornado risk from the St. Louis area toward Pittsburgh and southward through just about all of Kentucky and West Virginia in association with a slow-moving cold front. AccuWeather severe weather experts say that these storms may bring damaging winds of at least 50 to 60 miles per hour, as well as enough rain in a short period for flash flooding. But much of the nation south and east of the Great Lakes has a risk for at least a spotty afternoon thunderstorm. The coverage of storms will be highest toward the central Gulf Coast, where a tropical rainstorm is expected to make its second landfall this afternoon in southeastern Louisiana, bringing wind gusts that may exceed 40 miles per hour in some spots from New Orleans south and east, as well as the immediate Mississippi coastline. Rainfall may eventually reach 4 to 8 inches for southern Louisiana and parts of far southern Mississippi through Saturday. Otherwise, another zone of downpours will include the Four Corners states, where monsoon thunderstorms will redevelop this afternoon with some downpours as it stays hot in the Pacific Northwest. That's the weather across America. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist LaTroy Thornton.
Remember to follow us wherever you get your podcasts. Follow and listen on your favorite platform. Just search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. The U.S. Senate went into what is called a Vote-A-Rama Wednesday night, which includes hours of voting on amendments to a White House request to claw back $9 billion in spending, including for public media and foreign aid funding. Correspondent Rich Johnson looks at what senators have been voting on and why they need to get the bill passed by tomorrow.
The goal of the rescission package is to codify the cuts first made by DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency.
Reining in waste, fraud, and abuse in the federal government is a priority shared by President Trump and by Senate Republicans.
Senate Majority Leader John Thune's desire for spending cuts was echoed on the Senate floor by fellow Republican Eric Schmitt of Missouri. But Schmitt says it's also about what they're cutting.
Their government has been writing checks to left-wing propaganda outlets and spending billions overseas on countries that hate us.
The measure is about more than cuts to NPR, PBS, and USAID. There are many other spending cuts in there. But to what? Here's North Carolina Republican Tom Tillis.
We have no earthly idea what specific cuts will occur. But I'm willing to give OMB and the president the benefit of the doubt that there are going to be responsible cuts.
The idea that this is about balancing the debt is laughable.
Democrat Patty Murray of Washington State reminded her colleagues that the tax cuts contained in the already passed Big Beautiful Bill more than wipe out any savings that DOGE came up with.
You could cut every dollar we have spent on foreign aid since World War II, and that total would still fall short compared to the cost of Republican tax cuts.
Two health programs originally in the bill were spared, the worldwide HIV and AIDS program known as PEPFAR, and the U.S. contribution to a worldwide program that helps poorer countries buy and deliver vaccines. I'm Rich Johnson.
A top Biden administration aide sat before a congressional committee and refused to answer questions in a House GOP probe of the ex-president's mental fitness in office. Washington correspondent Sagar Meghani reports that despite the non-answers to their questions, and the former First Lady and former Vice President Kamala Harris could be called up.
One of then First Lady Jill Biden's former top aides has refused to answer questions from House Republicans investigating President Biden's mental state and auto pen use in office.
Mr. Bernal, did you ever advise President Joe Biden to pardon his son, Hunter Biden?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer the question pursuant to my Fifth Amendment rights under the Constitution.
Let the record reflect that Mr. Bernal has invoked the Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination. Mr. Bernal, please be very clear. Are you declining to answer the question put to you solely on the ground that you believe the answer will incriminate you?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer the question pursuant to my Fifth Amendment rights under the Constitution.
Ex-Jill Biden Chief of Staff Anthony Bernal invoked the Fifth Amendment following a House Oversight Committee subpoena, as President Biden's former doctor did last week.
I think that the American people are concerned. They're concerned that there were people making decisions in the White House that were not only unelected, but no one to this day knows who they were.
Panel Chair James Comer has sought testimony from nearly a dozen former Biden aides and suggests the list could include Biden relatives and ex-Vice President Kamala Harris.
We're going to bring in everyone. We're moving up the line.
Fellow Republican Byron Donald says every Biden administration member should be subpoenaed.
This is corruption at the highest level, because if you cannot answer a simple question about Joe Biden's capabilities, then that further demonstrates that he was not in charge of his administration.
The ex-president has dismissed the probe, and Democrats say it's simply political theater. Sagar Meghani, Washington.
The Pentagon announces it's ending the deployment of 2,000 National Guard troops in Los Angeles. That's about one half of those who were deployed during unrest over immigration raids in the nation's second largest city. Correspondent Ben Thomas reports that the Los Angeles mayor had a lot to say about the deployments, ones she claims were both not necessary and dangerous.
I have said from the beginning that what is happening in Los Angeles is we are being used as a test case, and I am hoping that this experiment with the lives of people ends here. This has been a blow to the economy of the nation's second largest city. We are an immigrant city. A city where there's sectors of our economy that are dependent on immigrant labor. We've had an important victory.
Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass after the Pentagon announced it's ending the deployment of 2,000 National Guard troops in L.A.
This is what happens when the city stands strong, because we have been united, when people peacefully protest, when people raise the concerns about having National Guard in a situation where they were, as far as I'm concerned, used as props.
Nearly half of the soldiers sent to the city to deal with protests over the Trump administration's immigration crackdown.
We are a city of 500 square miles. We had problems in about 2 square miles. It lasted for a couple of days. I initiated a curfew. We have had no problems.
Roughly 4,000 National Guard soldiers and 700 Marines have been in the city since early June. It's not clear what prompted the 60-day deployment to end suddenly, nor was it immediately clear how long the rest of the troops would stay. Bass says,
"It is a misuse of the men and women who serve our country."
Sound courtesy ABC 7 Los Angeles. I'm Ben Thomas.
Lawsuit slapped on immigration officials for arresting illegals outside courtrooms. That and more when America in the Morning continues after these messages. Welcome back. This is America in the Morning. The Department of Homeland Security Secretary is hinting at the Trump administration's next step to making security checkpoints less grueling inside our nation's airports. Correspondent Clayton Neville explains.
Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem has already put an end to taking shoes off at security checkpoints inside American airports and says more changes are coming.
We have put in place in TSA a multi-layered screening process that allows us to change some of how we do security and screening, so it still is safe.
Noem spoke with News Nation's Blake Berman during a Hill Nation summit about what may be next.
I mean, the liquids, I'm questioning, so that may be the next big announcement is what size your liquids need to be. We're looking at, our scanners.
The TSA's liquid rule requires that liquids in carry-on luggage be limited to 3.4 ounces or less and stored in a single 1-quart resealable plastic bag. That policy was introduced in September of 2006 after a terrorist plot to detonate liquid explosives on transatlantic flights was thwarted by British police. I'm Clayton Neville.
There were a number of arrests in Louisiana involving payments for police reports allegedly forged to help immigrants trying to secure a visa. Correspondent Jennifer King is looking into it.
5 people in central Louisiana, including 3 current or former police chiefs, face federal charges for a scheme allegedly selling faked police reports for immigrants who were trying to secure a special visa for crime victims.
The defendants conspired to commit visa fraud.
U.S. Attorney Alexander Van Hook spoke about the grand jury indictment at a news conference in Lafayette.
These U visas serve a valuable purpose, and this is the case where the U visas were abused.
Van Hook says there had been an unusual number of reports of armed robberies of people from outside Louisiana. The investigation found police officials were paid $5,000 per name for providing a forged report. There were hundreds of names.
Defendants produced false police reports so that the purported victims of the robberies could apply for U visas.
Those charged are Oakdale Police Chief Chad Doyle, Forest Hill Police Chief Glenn Dixon, a former Glenmora Police Chief Thibault Onishe, Oakdale Marshal Michael Slaney, and Oakdale businessman Lala Patel. Audio courtesy KATC. I'm Jennifer King.
Following devastating flooding in Texas that killed 134 people. For the 3rd time this month, dangerous weather is responsible for death in New Jersey. Earlier this week, a massive deluge of rain caused severe flooding that killed 2 people in the city of Plainfield when their car was swept away on a flooded road. Last night, a lightning strike at an outdoor archery range killed a 61-year-old man and injured 13 others. Police in Jackson, New Jersey, about 70 miles south of New York City, said first responders arrived and had to administer CPR to 3 people. The injured ranged in age from 7 to 61. It's unclear if the victims had knowledge of the approaching storm. A class action lawsuit has been filed against the Trump administration over arrests being made by ICE at state and federal courts. Correspondent Haya Panjwani reports.
A federal lawsuit is taking aim at ICE over arrests happening at immigration courts. Immigrants and legal advocates have filed a class action suit hoping to stop immigration and customs enforcement officers from picking up people who show up for their scheduled court hearings and then fast-tracking them for deportation. The lawsuit is filed against the Department of Homeland Security, the Justice Department, and ICE. It argues that these arrests violate immigrants' legal rights. The large-scale immigration court arrests began in May and have put fear among asylum seekers and immigrants. President Donald Trump has said the crackdown is focused on deporting dangerous criminals, but government data shows that most of those detained have no criminal record at all. I'm Hayat Panjwani.
She was involved in the prosecutions of, among others, Sean Diddy Combs and Jeffrey Epstein. Maureen Comey, the daughter of former FBI Director James Comey, was fired from her position at the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Southern District of New York. Comey's father was fired during President Donald Trump's first term in office after he initiated the investigation into potential ties between Russia and President Trump's 2016 presidential campaign. A massive international task force has brought down a huge cyber hacking group, making the web just a little bit safer. Chuck Palm has details in today's Tech Report.
A multinational task force targeting 7 suspected Russian-linked hackers resulted in dozens of arrests in 24 different locations. According to a report on Reuters, the Russian-linked hacker group No Name 57 targeted 15 to 20 medium to large enterprises, including at least one Asian and U.S. headquartered financial investment firms. Germany and Spain led the charge, issuing arrest warrants for the hackers accused of hitting critical infrastructure. They were joined by the U.S., France, Sweden, Switzerland, and the Netherlands, and did a massive swoop-in searching 24 locations, including spots in Berlin and Bavaria per Europol and German prosecutors. The group is accused of running botnets by stealing time in a coordinated denial-of-service attack with bad actors on hundreds of different servers, all paid off in crypto, with at least 5 identified as Russian citizens, but as always, Russia has denied any involvement. For more tech news, follow me on X at Chuck Palm.
In with a check of sports this morning, here's Robert Workman.
Baseball's All-Star break continues for one more day before the regular season resumes. 60-odd games left for each team. The Tigers, Astros, and Blue Jays lead the divisions in the American League, with the Yankees, Red Sox, and Mariners atop the wildcard standings. In the National League, it's the Dodgers, Cubs, and Phillies in front, with the Brewers, Mets, and Padres leading the wildcard chase. Some good series starting on Friday to open up the second half of the season, including the Brewers at the Dodgers, the Red Sox at the Cubs, and the Astros and Mariners tangling in Seattle. Golf's British Open, or the Open Championships if you prefer, underway at Royal Portrush Golf Club in Northern Ireland. Xander Schauffele is the defending champion in the year's final major. NFL training camps opening up this week. The Hall of Fame game between the Chargers and the Lions is just 2 weeks away. Veteran defensive end Von Miller will reportedly take a one-year deal with the Commanders. The 8-time Pro Bowl player and longtime Bronco spent the last 3 seasons with the Bills. And the agent for Bradley Beal says the 3-time NBA All-Star guard has agreed to a buyout with the Phoenix Suns and will go to the Clippers once he clears waivers. Beal will get a 2-year contract with an option in LA. James Harden of the Clips apparently was the prime recruiter. That's Thursday Sports.
When we return on America in the Morning, nod your head at this auction and they may say thanks a million. That's after these messages. The new Superman movie is a big hit in theaters, but the Man of Steel is also having a big impact inspiring dog adoptions. Entertainment reporter Kevin Carr explains.
In James Gunn's Superman, the Man of Steel's dog Krypto is a lovable bundle of chaos, one that Gunn based on his own adopted dog Ozu. Gunn explained in this YouTube video from Cool Dog Walker.
Krypto's based on my dog. We named Ozu, who's the world's worst dog. We 3D modeled my dog. We took photographs of him. We turned him into Krypto, which is what he is, and we just turned him white because my dog's brown.
The dog training app Woofs, with a Z, analyzed Google search trends and discovered something even better than ticket sales. Dog adoption interest has spiked since the weekend. The term adopt a dog near me increased by 513%. Also on the four-legged friends front, before the release of Superman, Warner Brothers teamed up with Best Friends Animal Society to cover pet adoption fees for the first 10 days in July.
You don't have to be an official superhero to do something life-saving and adopt a shelter pet.
This effort led to 454 pets being adopted nationwide. This is not the first time Gunn put one of his dogs in a superhero film. In Guardians of the Galaxy, Rocket Raccoon's bedhead after waking up is based on Gunn's dog, Dr. Wesley Von Spears. The doctor also had a cameo in the film as a hologram. Now Gunn has his hands full with Ozu.
I saw this funny-looking dog with an ear that stuck up and this little smirk on his face. Looked like he was up to no good, and for some reason I thought that would be a good dog to adopt. Ate my new $10,000 laptop, chewed up all my shoes, and I was like, thank God he doesn't have superpowers.
He's a good boy for sure. I'm Kevin Carr.
Not your typical auction here, where up for bids was a rock from Mars and a dinosaur skeleton. And unless you brought millions of dollars with you, you didn't stand a chance. Correspondent Julie Walker reports.
Bidding was fast and furious at Sotheby's Wednesday for a dinosaur skeleton estimated at up to $6 million.
$3 million, $3,200,000, $3,500,000, $3,800,000, $4 million. $4,200,000 already.
Auctioneer Phyllis Cow kept buyers bidding for the more than 6 feet tall, nearly 11 feet long juvenile Ceratosaurus.
At $20 million, $21 million, online at $21 million.
Finally selling at $26 million, but with commission and other fees, $30.5 million.
At $26 million then, last chance to all of you for the juvenile Ceratosaurus, probably a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. At $26 million. Sold.
Meanwhile, a much-hyped 54-pound rock from Mars that fell to Earth as a meteorite only went for $4.3 million. That was the high end of the estimate. When you add commission and fees, it was $5.3 million. The auction, part of Sotheby's Geek Week sale. Julie Walker, New York.
Well, everyone knows that auctions speak louder than words. That's because of the auctioneers. America in the Morning for Thursday, July 17th, 2025 is produced by Jeff McKay. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One.